Welcome to Financial Freedom with the Flipping Flanagans, where we help real estate agents and already successful business professionals create legacy wealth through real estate. We go by the Flipping Flanagans, and we don't actually flip houses very often. When you drop the F bomb a little too often, add that to a real estate background, you get the Flipping Flanagans. We actually buy property to hold and see long term gains protected from inflation while seeing amazing benefits from appreciation and depreciation. See you on the other side. All right, well, we are back, and Brad and I are doing this a little differently this time. We are doing it via video and recording for our podcast all at the same time. So we'll see how this pans out. We're in two different places. Brad is in Omaha, and I am in Winter Park. Brad, I think it'd be good to recap what happened the last 24 hours. Well, the last 12 hours.
Which one?
Just you getting home. And we rent our personal house out.
Yeah.
Things don't always go as planned.
This is true. We booked a flight, the night before. So we did plan a little bit. We got 24 hours worth of advanced planning on the departure from Colorado and got in the next day. Felt colder actually. Yeah.
No, last night. Sorry.
So yeah, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was, but it actually felt colder here, even though it was like in the 20s, and supposedly it was like 17 or probably high teens and when I left Colorado. But anyways, it was later, so there's that. But we chose to book the hotel in the Midtown area because I figured it's halfway between the office and the airport, and probably a cheaper Uber ride from the airport to there as opposed to try to get way out west somewhere. And then we had a checkout of basically our house that we use in Omaha. So that was interesting. I was trying to get all the work done, and then I was a little inundated with the frustrations of being a real estate investor, short-term rental landlord, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was nice to finally settle in. It's beautiful. It's very clean. There's a few less decor items in here because of the reckless tenant and his unbeknownst
dog,
feline pet friend, whatever it was. So yeah.
We are not a pet-friendly house, and apparently our Airbnb guests thought we were. But that's a different story. But that was going to play right into our talk today. We are talking about planning and coming up with the perfect plan. Are you guys excited to hear what me and Brad's perfect plan is? Because I think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be what you expect.
It's perfect, though. It is. Every time it works out.
It does work out. So, Brad, a lot of times we buy a property. What's the first thing people ask us?
Is it a good deal?
Is it a good deal? What are you going to do with it? What's our answer?
Over here. Well, we make it a deal is really my biggest or most common response is it's actually, I love this phrase or term or statement, and I don't know where it came from, if I kind of came up with it or if it's paraphrased, but it's not the ability to find a deal, it's the ability to make a deal that makes an investor. So no one transaction really defines the ability to be a good investor. It's multiple transactions and different complexities, different characteristics, and trying to figure out what the best use or what the best opportunity or the best strategy is going to be. And as long as it yields a return at some point in time, then I guess we've completed that goal. And really, there's multiple definitions for the word plan. There's two under the category of being a noun. One is a detailed proposal for doing or achieving something, and the other for the noun category is an intention or decision about what one is going to do. So I believe the intention piece is key right there. It's what is your intention? It may not be actually a detailed or overly detailed plan until you actually start to implement some action, which is, I think, going to be another key word for us is action and intention, and going out and making sure you maintain a specific mindset. Under the verb category, it says decide on and arrange in advance, or design or make a plan of something to be made or built. So it's not Legos, unfortunately. It's there's not just one way to put everything together and a literal step written out for each activity. It's
Right.
okay, here's my end goal. Try to work your way backwards as best you can. But if you're too specific, now you're inflexible. You
You put a block on
choose.
yourself.
Right, that's why Google Maps is so successful, right? They change the plan as you're going along your route. If you're going on an 18-hour, 30-hour trip, which we know we've done, we haven't taken the same route that started when we were at our departure location, because think about that last Colorado trip down the mountain when we had family and friends up in Winter Park. There was accidents and road closures. We had to divert. Some of them had we all three of us, I think, took different routes down the mountain, and some of us arrived like
We all
almost
got
at the
there.
same time. Some of us left later than others, and we still got there around the same time and had the same experience that evening. I would say some had more frustration in their travels than others, but it's also about timing and taking on those challenges and then doing what you got to do to still get to the destination. So um, I don't know if I let the cat out of the bag, but give me your feedback
No,
on.
so really, so many people come to us and they say, you know, how do you guys determine what property you're going to buy? How do you find the deals? How do you do X, Y, and Z? And the most obvious thing that me and Brad have been discussing, like in our personal lives and just kind of evaluating as we're doing this podcast and as we're doing our coaching and understanding really what makes us tick and what makes what we do work really well, is that we're very open-minded and we are okay with pivoting when the plan doesn't work out. So almost always God has the most amazing sense of humor because we could plan our eyeballs out. And what happens is, okay, this is going to be a phenomenal short-term rental. This is going to be a phenomenal long-term rental. This is going to be our personal primary residence. Something happens, something that we didn't plan, or an opportunity presents itself that we didn't expect, or, whatever. We bought this big, huge, beautiful house in Bennington that we thought we were going to be there forever. Like genuinely thought this is it. We're going to have our client appreciation parties here. And we quickly realized that you don't even have time to plan a party when you're maintaining that much property. So
Hmm.
in all reality, the plan that we thought was so perfect didn't end up working out at all. And usually the times that we don't plan and something like comes to us and we make a quick decision and we're like, yes, the quick numbers make sense. We always analyze the deal. We just don't always know all the details. Meaning this might look like a great short-term rental, and then we go and we turn it into a short-term rental and we realize that it's not ideal for whatever reason, or we all of a sudden find nurses that need housing and we convert the unit to more of a 90-day versus. So short-term rental has so many different definitions in itself, but a lot of the people who come to us for, just they're like, hey, can I pick your brain? Can I run a scenario by you? And usually it's like you're getting too in the weeds before you even know that you have a deal. And when you spent all months and months and months, and I did it, the very first real estate transaction I almost ever did for business, I spent over a year planning. It didn't even come together. And I can tell you that
Mhm.
was a lot of wasted time. So the one time that I overly planned, it didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. So I encourage you that if you're looking at it, you're looking at investing in a real estate and you're trying to figure out your next steps, like just take imperfect action. Just write the offer. Get uncomfortable. Get scared that you don't know the next step always. It's okay. It's the only way to learn.
It really is, and I guess it's really more of a fine line because Benjamin Franklin's famous quote, "Failure to plan is planning to fail." And I do agree that it is important that you have a plan. However, we have a plan that is flexible. It's similar to goal setting, right? It's got to be um, what do they call them? Smart, specific, measurable, attainable, revisable, and timely. So the revisable piece has always stood out to me as one of the biggest um, factors in your goal setting and your planning. However, we have that big, hairy, audacious goal that we're trying to work towards, which we have more planning about that than it is maybe just a specific real estate transaction, a specific property or group of properties. And so training yourself which plans to deep dive in and continue to evaluate and refine, and then training yourself on what characteristics you need to maintain, such as how to identify, value in property. We find a lot of stuff that is on the market. It is listed, and we still are able to obtain that property and we buy it when others have passed on it. It was a good deal for them, just like it was a good deal for us. It was about the mindset and how it fit into our bigger plan. And so, what often I think happens is the other common one that I even fall into a lot of times, which is analysis paralysis. That, if I was to go and see what the exact definition of that is based on different places, because that one's not obviously in the dictionary, but say Investopedia, analysis paralysis is the inability to make a decision due to overthinking a problem. So too much data. If again we try to take in too much information and say, oh, should I make it a short-term rental? Should I make it a long-term rental? Should I flip it? Or trying to crunch the numbers and figure out where everything is at, it's not ever really going to fall in exactly where no matter how much you think about it, if you put forever all the time in the world into it, you're probably just going to miss out on the transaction or not participate in it at all because the fear or the confusion that's created by being too focused on the plan. Oftentimes, like I said, we try to run the very down and dirty fundamental information, assuming it meets those certain metrics or criteria. We are moving forward on an offer and, you know, probably debating over, where we actually start our offer versus where we end up at. So maintaining that ability to be flexible, being the Google map that can adjust as the route changes or things change along the timeline of that trip, that's
Uh,
what's
oh,
more
sorry.
important. No, you're good.
I was gonna on that note, a lot of times we make an offer and then we happen to be talking about it with somebody and we were planning on flipping it, and then all of a sudden they're like, we need a place for so and so. Do you have any places? So just going into like the opportunity, as soon as we make the opportunity happen and finding the deal, like Brad mentioned earlier, like we create the deal, then all of a sudden we're presented with different options and we get to pick between the different options that are available to us. Do we flip it? Do we rent it? We've had the opportunity to provide housing for some people like that really needed it, like very genuinely. Um, the market right now is crazy for rentals, and we've had people come to us where they needed a place in between stays or they've got hospital stuff going on and they need a place close to the hospital, and we've been able to provide that housing. And it's like honestly going back to like God provides. And so working together and making this imperfect plan, it all comes together and it all works out. But you have to do something in order for it to happen. What, honey?
Oh, I was getting a phone call. It was great.
Oh, that was weird.
Did you heard? You could hear it?
No, just your face and
Oh,
what
yeah.
you
That was
make.
I was like, really? Am I really getting this phone call right now? So,
Who was it? I'm calling them out right now.
oh, somebody I talked to like 30 minutes ago, um, and first thing this morning. Um, anyways, so I missed a couple of the final words or thoughts that you had at that last topic, but
I said God has the perfect plan. Apparently,
absolutely.
God didn't want you to hear that part.
The perfect plan is just the one that isn't overthought or inflexible. And so it's not that we go into it with no plan at all. It's defining specific metrics to identify what makes it acceptable to you for and how does it play into your big plan. I think the goal is to reiterate that um, the best deal is not planned from start to finish. The plan is what it is that's motivating you, what it is that you intend to do by taking the action of investing or growing a business, whatever your venture is that's giving you the resources to achieve your goals, which is ultimately the plan. Identify the metrics that
Yes,
fit into that and then execute, take
yes,
action.
yes. So the planning comes into the big picture for us. And it's okay, we know that let's just throw out a number. Someday we want to have $100 million portfolio. And we're going to take the steps needed to get there. And wherever we're at right now, and especially right now, we've talked about even um, transitioning from some of our single family homes into more multifamily. Well, that wasn't even something we would have thought about probably a couple years ago. It wasn't even, that wasn't on the radar. At that time, we wanted 10 properties. Now we're starting to understand how this snowballs and what it looks like and how many people we've been able to help. And it's really awesome. So we're excited to keep doing it. And that in itself, so that's an ever flowing, ever moving thing. And it's funny, one of our team members, we were on vacation, they were asking like, when are you guys going to slow down? When are you guys going to stop? Like, what's the moment when you quit doing this? And to be completely honest, like, I don't think that's in me and Brad's blood. I said this on my YouTube video today, because really now we're like getting into the really good part. Like, we get to help so many people. We get to help other people create this awesome legacy wealth, right? And that's super impactful. And now I'm like, Brad and I are both motivated and driven on a whole new level. And it's a different type of motivation than we've ever experienced before. And we're passionate about helping other people achieve this. And we've seen what it does to us. And we've been through the hard shit. And we're okay with it. We're okay. We're on the other side of the hard stuff. Now we just know how to deal with the hard stuff. Yep. Dog was in our house. Who cares? Get the carpets cleaned, buy a new vase, move on. Cost of doing business. Cost of doing business.
Well,
Any
and
other
that's
notes on
the
that, honey?
other, yeah. So, in addition to some of that planning stuff is until you have the data, you're really just borrowing information from somebody else to help make those decisions. And if you're doing things how I would assume are like the right way, you're growing. So you're growing and you're experiencing new things. So until you have the data to make a decision, you really can't plan too much. When we were talking about growing our real estate portfolio and we wanted 10 units, we didn't know what that was going to look like. We didn't know how long that would take. You can try to throw a number out there and just to have a goal at least, but at the end of the day, unless you have more statistical data on your performance, it's hard to make up that number. But now, if you've done it for 5, 6 years and you can actually um, calculate your data to say, hey, we've statistically been growing at this rate, or we experience this percentage of growth year over year, we should reach $100 million portfolio by X date using the same practices and procedures that we've done to date. So that's where, again, doing gives you the information you need to plan in the first place. So if there's anything that we can help encourage, it is trust your gut, have some parameters, and move forward.
Yes. Well, that's all we were going to talk about today. So thank you guys for tuning in. Brad, do you have any final thoughts?
No, subscribe, like, reach out directly. We will be sharing what we use as our metrics. So how we do our a quick look. I actually have a tab on one of my spreadsheets. It's called Quick Look, and that's again to expedite the pace of the information that's needed, so that we can move and react in this wild and crazy, fast-paced market that we have.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you'll hit that subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, join our Facebook group at Building Legacy Wealth Through Real Estate to find out more about what we do and what we offer. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.